Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the after show for issue 31 of The Powers That Be. And this one was called Test Your Might. I think we may have tested what might have happened. I'm not sure. But we're going to start by going around as we usually do with our stars and wishes. And I think this time we're going to start with Ray.
Well, then, where to begin? Patrick. Oh, Patrick. Love you. I was thoroughly convinced that this was going to be literally round two fight, and it so wasn't. Um, those were a lot of loose ends to start to try to reach in and weave some twisted tales. So, uh, that was very good. That was very good. And start at ECAT for coming up with some really awesome ideas. And then even after getting the out of character answers, pursuing that in character to try to get a grip on some way to diffuse this uh without going through the GM's plan A. Started Trevor for being floating crash in outer space. Um, and then, yeah, the entrance, had Gene seen that, would have incensed him. He would have been so jealous. So it's good that that was like well beyond his viewpoint, because number one, he's not going to believe it, and number two, he doesn't want to believe it. um Wishes. I wish I played that better. I felt like I did not have nearly the initiative that I should have. Um, and a lot of that is wrapped up into, and especially like bringing back Obe, um, and it's put into the situation of you are helpless, and so what do you do? Um, and I don't feel like that was my best night. Um, but like there's so many moving parts. I'm trying to keep up with Patrick, and it's kind of difficult. But I have faith that in the end, like everything will get worked out. I have all the faith in the world in everybody that I'm seeing virtually on the Zoom screen in front of me. So, um, yeah, so long as I don't muck things up too bad, uh, it's still, this was an interesting one. This was an interesting one. So yes, we'll I we'll see how next time goes. That's all I got.
All right, I'm going to exercise host's privilege here and jump in next because my star goes to Ray. Honestly, I thought you played that beautifully. Um, both in knowing what you wanted to do and in those situations where you had no idea what you wanted to do. You played it fantastically. Um, you you have carried the character of Jean so far forward in this campaign, but especially as the campaign has gone on, you have gotten visibly and palpably more invested emotionally, energetically in moving the character forward. Um, and so I think those points where uh, you know you are as you said you are helpless, you don't know what to do. Those are the character building moments that we really that's the kind of thing we love seeing because that's how the characters grow. Because Jean being a speaker, being being an old time, a veteran hero, being all those things, I think he's kind of used to, uh, knowing what to do from past experience, if nothing else. And so being thrown the curveball, um, and watching him have to deal with that, is actually, I found that really, really rewarding, and really enjoyable. So yeah, that you get my star for tonight. You know, again, giving a star to Patrick almost seems, cliched at this point, but we can't not. Um, son of a bitch. Uh,
Can we deduct stars from Patrick?
Yes, I have plenty extra.
yeah. um, as far as wishes, I wish that damn Beam had taken out the Circus King. But then I suppose that would rob us of the satisfaction of apparently doing it ourselves. Um, no, I am loving seeing all of the threads start to come together. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they all intersect at the end, because I know they're going to. Um, I also I wish I could have possessed the right Donner. That would have been freaking cool. That's what that's what I was envisioning. The beam comes down, and all of a sudden, the right Donner, no, you assholes, it's me. Which, I mean, I don't know. That may have made you want to fire more. I don't know. All right. So after that, we're gonna go over to Matt.
It me.
It
Okay.
you.
Yeah, definitely big star to Ray there. I mean, for the rest of us, we don't know how much you've planned with Patrick about backstory and these characters and these arcs. So sitting on this side, you play the character organically. You know, all the decisions, that hopelessness, that frustration felt real to the character. So that decision to fuck off, um, you know, none of us, or certainly speaking for myself, didn't get a sense of Ray the player being like, I don't know what to do. Um, you, you know, was that an optimal tactical decision? No, but for the story, and the story is the most important thing, that was the right call. Um, so, big star for that.
Can I interject one point about that? The interesting thing about Ray's behavior is note that he behaved very human. And that is something very important about who he's chosen to be.
Yep.
Yes. I'm kind of glad for, because these interdimensional space squids are really getting on my nerve. So also star to ECAT, for some brilliant thinking on her feet, even though because of the connection couldn't hear half of what she was saying, but you know, side star to Trevor for finally noticing after a month or so of follicular impairment.
You've been wearing the hood, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, with your background, it makes you look bald. I'm like, yeah, that's because so also started
getting old.
We are getting old, and my genes have failed me. Started Julie too for getting involved with her character arc, not roaching away from the spotlight when it hits you. And yeah, you've got this is sort of dovetailing into wishes, because it's going to be interesting to see you interact with the family and the scions.
With absolutely no diplomacy and people skills whatsoever on my character sheet.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you may not need those. You may just need to smack their heads together.
That's probably what I'm going to end up going with. I've got 2 weeks to think about this.
I mean, honestly, if it hadn't ended where it was, Jack was going to pull a couple ball bearings out of his pocket and beam Mom and Bill with them and say, "Hey, Nazi robot, focus."
Yeah.
I mean, you can take a skill advancement and actually become trained in pleasant social interactions, and that
I
would
have
definitely,
enough. I have enough XP
yeah,
to do that. Yes.
yeah, that would
Yeah.
that
Yes.
would
And
that would certainly be a growth point for the character.
yeah.
That's definitely character growth.
Yep.
So other wishes, I kind of want to blow up a Nazi robot, but that's selfish. And it'll also be interesting to see how much of the wild speculation of me or Jack is actually founded.
Yep.
Because, damn it, Patrick, you're really thorny puzzle to nail down.
Yep. Right. Well, so since we were just there, let's go back to Julie. What have you got?
Well, yeah. Right. I love seeing, this continuation of Gene's back, his history just and how it's coming to bite you in the ass. I mean, really. Just and how well you are role playing Gene dealing with these moments that are not happy fun time. They're incredibly uncomfortable, if not just outright pissing you off, pissing Gene off, and that you're playing it so well. Trevor, so the shit that you came up with for dealing with actually was brilliant. That's another star for that. I mean, yeah, I was truly impressed, and I mean, and Ecat and Matt, the two of you coming up with, Ecat coming up with ways that we can deal with all of this, and Matt doing just the, like this week, it really was very much the two of us doing kind of the quiet, okay, whose head do we have to beat in? Who do we need to shoot? Because the situation is just getting out of control. I mean, horribly. And in Patrick, as per usual. Yeah, just so but I'm glad that I'm in a position where I can finally start getting back to my character arc and seeing if I can figure out what the hell happened between the Scions and the Atoms, and so I am looking forward to that.
Okay. I'll hop over to ECAT.
Well, it's going to be just a broken record here, but started to Ray for the way he's playing Gene, even though Neva is really pissed at him for fucking off again when somebody who cares about him needs him. And yeah, as we've been saying, to Julie for really starting to bring her character to be more involved and working on her character arc, and Trevor sweet talking, flirting with the sentient AI of Eastern Eurasia. No.
It's not that sentient. It's just an Oracle database.
But
come on.
Still, he's the closest thing we got to a bard at the moment who will flirt with anything.
Or yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
And to Matt for helping Neva just work through some ideas of how the fuck can we do this without getting ourselves killed, and to Patrick for just being a right bastard of a GM. Wishes at this point, I got nothing because yeah, I got nothing that hasn't already been said. So that's what it'll be.
Right. And finally, to the man himself, Patrick.
All right. So I'm having a lot of fun wrapping all the stuff back up together at the end. And I'm sure a few of you may not be recognizing some of the things. So for though for Stars and Wishes, I would like to point out some of these. For instance, Trevor, Crash now has the big key he was looking for before. Who runs STEM? What is STEM?
Yeah.
Who's running it? Well, it turns out STEM's being run by a villain.
Duh.
And that's the bit of information that, is new.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I'm going to interject for 1 second. I don't actually know if Crash was paying attention to the conversation on the ground at that point. Because at that point, he'd already gotten Gene to find him. Now his attention had gone to what was going to, what was the next thing he was going to try to do with Exity. I actually don't know if he picked up on that.
I think he would have, because he noticed the thing that was threatening them and probably wanted to pay attention to see how bad that was going to go.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I'll buy that.
So, interesting thing with Black Ice's story arc is she has made it her mission in life to keep the team together and to guide the senior people in it to doing the right thing. So she has made a huge amount of character progress from being that, kind of listless teen who's just kind of hanging out for the heck of it into being, at this point, one of the leaders.
Yep.
Now, the thing with Matt is Jack has got himself into a situation where he has all of the pieces he needs. Because the nature of what happened to you has to deal with your brain.
Right.
As has been brought up there, several in there. And strangely
have
enough, who happens to be standing there but some of the most powerful psionic adepts on the planet, who could, for instance, you have one who can physically manipulate bodies in an astonishing way, and others who can contact immense depths of the human mind that nobody else can. So you're kind of in a cool position for that. And, if he's so inclined, he might be able to get some answers. Either that or just go beat up the Nazi robot. One or the other.
Few ideas about some of the gestalt that we should talk about off channel at some point. But
yes, we can totally do that. In fact, we have a new chat environment we can work in. So, and of course, Gen X is discovering the depths to which what's happening relates to him. Because the reason everything went wrong before, even though he doesn't necessarily understand the mechanism behind it, but that can be readily discovered soon. But who all of the major players are now are known. There's basically 3 camps happening right now from his side of things, because you have Obe on one side and whoever he may have picked up. You have Gene on another, and then you have Erebus and Lumiere on the third. They're all working to some extent either against each other or with each other. And this seems to have a very big impact on what's happening in the world in general. Because once again, the stars are coming to alignment. The reason you all have been here for so long is coming soon. Almost like that's a really important end plot point or something like that. Crazy. I know how that works, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Then, of course, Pa has been trying to figure out why the two camps don't get along with each other. And she pulled in one group of them, knowing full well that the other were hanging out. And these are ones from the other group that don't come out very often. They're very secretive and are perhaps exactly the people who may know what the heck is going on, at least from their perspective. So it'll be fun to see whether, you know, she can talk sense into people or get people to talk sense into each other, or if that's just going to turn into a big scrap while, you know, the big Nazi robot flattens the city. And along with all the clowns and mimes and carnies that are running around like that. So a lot of fun as to where we're positioned. So stars for everybody for getting themselves to where they need to be to come along with their character. And as far as wishes go, I really wish y'all would just kind of go along with the plan that I had set in advance on any given week. This is yet to happen. There's always just something where it's just like, what the
Not gonna
fuck are you guys
happen.
doing?
Yeah, as Matt said.
But fortunately, I know you guys, so I come prepared. It's like, okay, well, tonight, you know, if we do this, this, and this, and everything, boom. Yes. And then 2 seconds in, like, oh, okay, let's think through this. But, you know, it works out nicely. So I would like to give everyone for, as I think about it, for positioning themselves into the end chapters for their characters, take an extra XP for tonight.
Woo!
Aw.
Because, honestly, you're probably going to need it. And
I take back every
Thanks.
gesture that I.
So that actually that dovetails actually kind of nicely. Matt had asked something before we started the after show, and I asked him to put a pin in it until this point because I thought it would actually make for a real good conversation on stream. So Matt, if you would please.
Well, okay. So there's did Jackdaw figure out what Exidy's plan was, or is he way off base? Is Exidy's need for things that were on Riker's Island, the rare earth stuff to make cybernetic parts to integrate, you know, several billion people into a network? Did Jack figure out the, you know, locust swarm of interdimensional alien squid things want to destroy space-time as we know it? Because Obey said something about getting rid of that, or was he just talking about the bodies and that?
okay, so in terms of XD's thing, you're kind of close to it. So, and because this is actually, yeah, I don't think that'll affect things. She doesn't need the stuff to improve upon how she controls people. She needs that to improve upon herself.
Oh, okay. So she
So
wants to
XD
boost.
has figured out how to possess 2 of the toughest robots that ever walked the face of the earth. But she
Okay.
needs something more, obviously, because once again, Eurasia is a very, very big place. And in terms of
Right.
the thing with the zoo, remember that if you're going to have a zoo, you also need some creatures out in the wild, which is her plans for North and South America and Africa. Those people will just be, you know, the feral humans going out doing their own thing, and she will be in charge of the ones in her home territory.
Yeah, there's a whole S.M. Sterling wrote a series of books that kind of had that going on. So, yeah.
So in terms of what the aliens are up to, this is all part of a power struggle between them, which is what Obi was talking about.
Well, yeah.
This should this all should make a bit more sense to Ray because, well, he came up with a hunk of the backstory behind how this works. But there is a power struggle going on amongst them. And the least of them is trying to move himself up in the world, or the multiverse as it is. Because as it currently stands, Erebus is the basically the 2 progenitors. One was the first one, and this is based very much on old creation myths. So the first one is, you know, the primal thing. It created, so it is chaos or potential, if you wanted to take the philosophical term for it. And this is, you know, out of all of the old stories, like in the beginning was not darkness, it was chaos. Everyone messes that translation up. I have no idea why. So the second one is the void. It's all the space that everything eventually fills into. And then from there, there's the hierarchy that lands us at the universe that you are in now. It is a place that has space-time, science makes sense, energy transfers around and stuff, but you also have all sorts of weird fantasy science fiction things happening because of the other ones that are there. So what Obi is presenting is his shtick is magic. So instead of a science-based universe, if he flips that, then space-time is no longer the fundamental thing in the universe. That falls away. Everything is held together by magic instead, which is a very different environment, but possibly still workable. It just looks different.
Just, yeah, the governing rules of the universe change.
But then, of course, once again, you still have the stars flipping into alignment, and what that means is, you know, its own thing.
The stars are right.
That's one of my favorite
and bright.
Lovecraft things, because he never explains what happens when that happens.
Yeah.
Is that there's something special about Earth when the stars are in alignment and stuff, and it's the reason Cthulhu's sleeping under the ocean and all this stuff is just waiting for the right time, and that's why they're all starting to show up. And so, you know, I'm just kind of going along with that, and I have an idea for what, you know, is supposed to happen. Whether or not that happens, that's another story. And I can guarantee if it does happen, it's probably not good for anything.
No,
We'll just all start singing Age of Aquarius.
Right. Well, it's also interesting with Atomicon's comment about their gods, because the way you've constructed the cosmology is right now they're Spinoza's god. They're the fundamental forces of the universe, how it runs. But they're also mythological gods, as in they are in-personed beings that have their own agendas, which is interesting from a philosophical point of view. But, you know, I expect nothing less from your background, Patrick. So
He's studying a lot of philosophy and mythology, lands you in some interesting places.
Right?
yes.
Many years ago, I was in a D&D campaign where the GM had been a double major in psychology and sociology. He had a folder this thick, like a 3-ring notebook, actually was like this thick, of NPCs that we were probably never going to meet, but he had completely fleshed them out just on the off chance that we went off on that particular story tangent. It was insane.
Wow.
Okay, so yep, we've gotten some answers for the first time in quite a while. So I you know, anyone else have anything that they want to bring up for discussion? All right. Well, in that case, we are going to get out of here. As I said in the main stream, we'll be back here 2 weeks from tonight, and then 3 weeks after that. So in the meantime, for Patrick, Julie, ECAT, Ray, and Matt, I am Trevor, the Vitruvian Meeple. Have a good night, everyone.